All right, Twitchers, we are back. 10-handed now, final table, unofficial. Rock and Roll Poker Open main event, Hard Rock, Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. My name is Daryl Fish, and I'm going to try to provide some interesting and entertaining commentary. We won't get to see hole cards while they're 10-handed, so that's actually kind of interesting because I get a better chance to kind of assess ranges or read hands without actually knowing what everyone has. So, let's see how it goes. We got Ben Keyline and Pat Mahoney joining the table, along with Billy Pilasov. And I don't know the other guy. Looks like Ben's cutting out a 3-bet here. I have no idea what their history is. Those guys were both at the other table. I know Ben plays pretty aggressive style, but I don't know the first thing about. Oh, well, he's all in. Pretty short, and Ben calls. Ace king, ace king. Boring. No sweat. Chopped up. Okay, seat 7 is William Jennings, who Matt was talking about earlier. John Spadavecchia joining us in the 3, and then Ben Keyline 8, Pat Mahoney in the 9. Looks like Billy's real short. Mahoney and Keyline both with fairly healthy stacks. Sorry guys, like it's been said, we will not have graphics or hole cards as long as they remain 10-handed. The table is not set up to accommodate that, so I'll be calling the action, and that's the best we can do for now. As soon as we lose a player, we'll be back to full functionality. Pesh opens the small blind with mystery cards. And he gets hit with a 3-bet by Zarkadoulis. I think I was wrong about Spadavecchia. I think this is a junior, John Jr., because there's, I think it's his father must be. The Spadavecchia's been around for a while playing poker, but either way, poker playing family. I think Pesh will probably be calling at least with most of his range here. I don't think he'd be opening too light. He'd probably take a lower variance approach and limp in with a lot of hands. So I expect him to have a decent hand, like a King 10 suited, medium pairs, something like this. This board favors Pesh pretty considerably. Zarkadoulis expected to have mostly high cards and big pairs. The occasional bluff, but Pesh could have a hand as strong as a straight at this point. I don't know if he would open all those hands rather than just limp them, but given how tight that Zarkadoulis plays, I think he might just take the initiative and open it. Ben Keyline did win the Colossus this year for quite a few dollars. Pesh not going anywhere. I'm gonna say Pesh likely has a hand like pocket sevens or Jack 10 of clubs. That is a great card for either of those hands. I think it's going to go check, check. Yep. Even if Zarkadoulis is aces, he's not going to bet on that card. And I like Pesh's chances of winning this pot. I think he's probably going to bet, whether he has it or not. So we'll see what happens. Oh no. Pesh must have like fours. Ace 8, something like that, yeah.
Lines are up, 30,000, 60,000, 10,000, 80.
How many times you got jacked like that?
A lot. That was the fourth time. Second time I won it.
We're going to see much tighter play than we've been seeing for a while because, you know, like I said before, 10-handed. Somebody's likely to have good cards nearly every hand, so it's harder to steal and easier to be patient when the blinds don't hit as often. Billy's going to open it up. Looks like 135. Either 135 or 110. No, maybe 115. It's 115 or 140. $140. Folds around to the big blind. He looks interested. Nope. Bad read. Like Just Fold has mentioned, we will see whole cards again with 9 players. This table is not equipped to show 10 hands, so they can't properly, you know, can't show only 9 of 10 players. So we have to play old school until they lose a player, and then we can go back to full streaming and graphics and bet sizes and all that stuff.
My standards are not so amazing.
So you like King Jack?
King Jack is a pretty beautiful hand. They're all different hands that are 4-bet into aces in my life.
Ben opens it up, 125.
Got about 1.5.
Pesh calls. Could be a lot of different hands. They're playing fairly deep. I think Pesh would call with a lot of suited connectors, small to medium pairs, maybe even a hand like ace jack or ace queen, just for, you know, mix it up and keep the pot small. Zarka calls too, I believe. Ari in the big blind. He'd be calling here with a really wide range of hands, getting like 6 to 1 or something. More than 6 to 1. And he will call, even though he's very short, 300K behind. Pot odds too good not to see a flop. Blinds are currently 30K, 60K. Checks around to the 10 of clubs. I still don't know if Zarkadulas is in this pot. Looked like he called, but I can't be sure. Ari shoves. Could do this with a lot of hands. Ace 3, Jack 10, 10x of diamonds, Queen 9 of diamonds, Queen 8 of diamonds, King Queen. A lot of potential hands for Ari to shove comfortably here. Zarko folds, and Ari takes it down. That's a big pickup. He will over double up.
Very reasonable hand. One of my favorites also.
Yeah, we know that. Gets the ace.
These cards aren't being shown though, yeah.
These cards are not being.
But this is live streams too.
Yeah.
Without that card.
A little bit of suspense just for one person.
You know, it's more suspense.
For which person?
I'm just saying to one more person. Plus one of you other 9 people. Apologies.
Optimus Clang asking for information about these players. Well,
I know,
I'll
I
go over a little bit of what I talked about earlier. Matt Humphrey, a longtime professional, mostly cash game pro, plays a lot of Omaha, plays a few tournaments here and there. Very nice guy, very good, solid poker player, really smart. He has a really balanced lifestyle. He golfs a lot, travels a lot, just you know, takes advantage of what poker affords him in life. And then we got Ben Keyline, of course, won the Colossus this year. They talked about him being an Uber driver before that, but he was playing poker full-time to mostly full-time before that. Maybe not with as much success as winning the Colossus, but now he's doing great. Pat Mahoney in the 9 seat, good friend of mine. We went hiking at Mount Zion this summer, right before the main event. It's really great experience, beautiful place. If you get a chance to check it out, I highly recommend it. We did tallest hike there. It's around 7,000 feet up. Pretty scary, but once you get up there, it's a really good feeling of accomplishment and just a lot of fun. Who else we got? Of course, Ari Engel, consummate pro, plays every tournament under the sun. One of the most respected guys in the tournament scene. He's had a good reputation for many years. Very, very good kid. Big fan of his. We got Pesh in the 1 seat. Has had a huge year in poker. He's won the Sunday Million. He's had some massive live scores. He's really just been on fire, on top of his game. Really nice kid also. He's definitely a favorite to win this one. Mark Doobie, 5 seat. another guy I know pretty well. Lives down here in Florida. He moved down here with his wife Melissa pretty recently. Plays a lot of tournament poker, a little bit of cash games too. But he's had some big success in live tournaments also. Otherwise, Billy Pilosov in the 5 seat, the only other player I know personally at all, and I don't really know him that well. I've just seen him around a lot. I believe he's from Borgata area. I think he's like an East Coast regular. Plays a lot of tournaments. Really nice guy from what I have seen of him. Mostly a solid player. And then the 2 seat, we've seen him make some huge folds. Zarkadula has folded jacks pre-flop a couple of times in spots where I would have been probably all in or close, or at least seen the flop, and he decided to let it go, and maybe it will end up working out for him. We'll only find out down the road. And yeah, that's it for people I know. And I don't know William Jennings at all, and John Spadavecchia, seen him around, know his name, but don't know much about him. Yeah, that's our final 10. Here we have Ari shoving and Ben snap calls. Ben had opened 9s. Ari shoved with ace-ace. That's a good hand. Ari, big favorite to double up here. His patience paid off. Maybe we'll see a 9 or a 10 for a sweat on the turn, or 10 or queen. Nope. Double up for Ari. Nobody likes to see that. I mean, I do, but none of the players at the table do. Ari coming off a win in the Aussie Millions main event this year. Huge tournament. I was there, played that one. It was a lot of fun. We'll be going back here in January coming up. Looking forward to it. And I'm sure Ari will be there too. He's one of those guys you just see constantly deep in tournaments, and it's really impressive, his consistency. And he has big stacks a lot too. It's not like he's just hanging in there. I mean, I go deep a fair amount, but I'm short stacked all the time. Ari, I see him with mountains of chips like all the time. It's really insane. A lot of hoodies and shades of this table. It's kind of pretty common theme these days in live poker. Pesh has his signature green hoodie, green shades. It's worked for him all year. I don't blame him for sticking with it. Ari's got to feel pretty good after that double up, after picking up that other pot. He's at his peak since the day started. The Game Genie, I believe Ari had about between 15 and 20 big blinds when he shoved there. I want to say closer to 15. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 8, 2, yeah, I want to say around 16 big blinds before that hand. Will Jennings defends big blind. We got 3 ways to the flop. This is a flop that had to hit somebody. Pesh leads out. Looks like 175. Wow. Ari called, and now William Jennings is all in. And 2 quick folds, so I would bet that he had a queen. And I would bet that Pesh had nothing. Maybe Jack 10, King Jacks type hand. Ari, maybe like 2 8s, 2 7s. Hard to say, but they folded so fast, it was clear neither of them had much. I think William Jennings almost certainly had a Queen Jack or something like that. And Optimus, this is a different tournament than Dan Coleman won. He won one of the other major events down here. Pretty similar though, 3,500 buy-in, I believe. Might have been the 5K, but all the same, not too different. Pesh continuing to open. He's going to be by far the loosest player with 10 left. Big blind defense. Oh, excuse me. William defended the small blind. Matt defended the big. Didn't see William's call before. Pesh bets and takes it down. People saying some bad things about wearing sunglasses. I don't do it myself very often, if ever, but I don't see why it would make it any less exciting to watch the table. Doesn't change a whole lot. Just makes it so the guys can look around without anyone noticing what they're looking at. I think that people should talk more maybe and be a little more personable at the table, but I don't think sunglasses prevent that either. only concern I could see is if worrying about, you know, marked cards with some lenses and some glasses that can read the cards somehow. But otherwise, I don't have a problem with it. Not my style, but certainly don't hate on it.
Is the next break is the break? Regardless, same thing, 7 left, regardless how many people. Will isn't here to get pissed off.
Baltimore Poker asking me again about my ACR name.
What's up?
I promise you, Barrelfish is not me.
I talked to him.
I guess it's up to you to believe me or not, but I wouldn't lie. I'm not a liar. I won't tell you my name on there because I have no reason to do so. But it's not Barrelfish, so and that person plays a lot more than I do. I play occasionally on Sundays and here and there during the week when I have nothing else really going on, but really not a whole lot. Some guys, you know, make screen names where they want to be known or they want their identity to be known. I think that's kind of silly. I'd rather play anonymously if I can help it. You know, I've played with some online players for many years. No reason to have them know who they're up against if I don't have to. Yeah, so I play a fairly anonymous screen name, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Before I look at my hand, I have to give a shout out to the big dog. All right, so just one guy watching. So sorry for the shout out. I don't want to get anything started here, but
I was
know,
thinking about doing the same.
I have to give one shout out.
Now that you've broken the ice.
Probably to my wife as well, but you know. leave it at that. I'm done.
William Jennings giving a shout out to his wife. What's up, Miss Jennings? How you doing?
No, I know, you're right. I just didn't want to forget.
My Bovada screen name is 4.
How much do you start with that? 3-3 back, 3-4 maybe. Ones are like 3-8, 3-7.
Action on Pesh here. See how he responds to the 3-bet. Looks like we're going to see a 4-bet here. About 800,000. Looks like 850-ish. And I would expect Pesh to be really strong here. I don't think Matt is messing around a whole lot. Don't think Pesh expects him to mess around a whole lot. So I think Pesh is most likely at the top of his range. But he's capable of having ace-4 suited and doing the same thing. So there's no way for us to know. Hand is unlikely to go showdown, so we probably won't know at any point. Matt starting this hand with what looks like just under 3 million. Right around 3 million. And an all-in from Matt, snap fold from Pesh. I think Matt most likely had ace king there. Maybe 2 queens. It's a pretty big shove. I think he might call with aces to try to trap. And he's definitely not bluffing when he shoves there, so my money's on ace king. Good effort by Pesh, but he ran into a strong hand there. I think it's an ambitious 4-bet. He opened under the gun. I don't think Matt's going to mess with him a whole lot. He's been playing pretty solid. But Pesh can't help himself sometimes, you know? And overall, it works out for him, so I'm not hating. Some guys talking about Bitcoin on the chat here. It's really easy to use for moving money around with poker sites. Definitely recommend using Coinbase. And Bitcoin price has been floating pretty steadily around 700. And I don't expect it to fluctuate a whole lot anytime soon. It might go up a bit, might go down a bit, but I think it'll hold around where it's at unless anything crazy happens. And if you plan to use it just to deposit or withdraw, it's not going to crash overnight or anything like that. So it's a good tool. Heads up between Matt and Pesh. Pesh defending is a big blind. And Pesh gonna check call here, which, it's a very dry flop. But Pesh is very creative. I could even see Pesh calling a flop with 6-7 offsuit, and with plans to take the pot away later. When Matt bets this flop, he kind of narrows his range to, some medium pairs, a queen, but he might even check a queen, a 4, pretty unlikely, and a whole lot of bluffs. So by check calling the flop, Pesh gets to kind of make it look like he has a queen or a 4 most of the time. And, if they get to the river and Matt has a hand like ace high or worse, he's not really going to be able to call a bet. So it's kind of a cool spot for an out-of-position float by Pesh, which I think is probably the most likely situation. Well, now that he's check-called again, I take that back. I'm sure he didn't check-call the turn with 6-7, so I think now he's either got a queen, a 4, or potentially floated and turned to king. And a third bet by Matt. Now, this represents a lot of strength. Oh, and a call from Pesh. Matt has queens full. Wow. Wow. That is sick. I'm pretty amazed that Pesh got away so cheap. Good river, because Matt could certainly have jack 10 and have been barreling. I think Pesh may have been planning to check raise other river cards. But that's a big cooler. A big hand for Matt. I believe that puts Matt comfortably into the chip lead. Looks like he has 2, 4, 5, 6, a bit over 6 million now, if my counting is anywhere near accurate. Pesh now down to about 3 million. Not really been a great day for him so far, but that hand could have gone much worse.
He's got 3 there. Yeah, like 2. Oh, you took I never mind.
Good?
Sorry.
I did that last time. So.
140.
Raised to 140 total.
Mark opens 140.
Raised to 140 total.
Jennings opens here. Ben reshoves. Wow. Spadavecchia shoves behind him. I like his hand. Ben could have a wide range here. Spadavecchia's got a very narrow range. Ace Jack suited for Ben. Guessing like 2 queens for Spadavecchia. 2 kings. Well, not the worst flop for Ben. He gets a bit of a sweat. No help on the turn. Or the river. And that does it for Ben. Now they're going to be going to 9-handed. We'll have everything back up and running. Graphics, hole cards, and chip counts.
I knew you had a bigger pair. But
Oh, you had Jack?
my jacks.
Ace Jack?
Ace jack.
Ben Keyline, one of the stronger players left, out in 10th place.
I think we need a chip count and stuff.
Guys, we can go ahead and take a 10-minute break.
We doing a 10-minute break? Is that what you said? 10-minute break.
And it'll be a quick 10-minute break while they reconfigure the table and everything, and we will be back.
I thought I gave him
Easy
before.
fix, guys. Easy fix. Boom. There we go.
No,
It's fine.
we're
We're
just
just
talking
Oh,
about
just the ace. Oh, all right.
All of them have the.
all of them have
Oh,
the-
yeah, that little dot right there.
Yeah.
Was trying to find a chip in it. I didn't know where it was.
Yeah, it's just this tiny little pinhole.
That's why I gave it to you at the beginning. I said, do you remember when I gave
Yeah,
you
is that what it was? That you said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I know the same
No,
thing
no,
happened to
no.
me when I was playing on like an earlier day. I thought it was the mark. And it was
Yeah,
the
we
ace
had
of
that
spades
problem
that
a couple
happened.
of
It was-
Yeah,
Because how the cards were spread out, it looked like only that card.
Right. Yeah, no, we had that one time. Mercier actually spotted it. He was the first one at the table to spot it. He goes, look, there's like 4 of them that have it. I go, Jason, every single card has it.
It's just
Oh, all right. It's,
I knew it
it's
would
a
have it. I
micro-
just never see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tiny little pinhole. Good? Sweet. I don't know. As long as they have it, we're good.
Right?
What do you have, Dave?
Who knows?
Like 1.4 or more. 1.41.
What do you got?
1.5. Yeah, hell yeah. Within the short side.
All right, guys, we're about ready to roll. Guys are about to get cards in the air. Just a reminder, that light dot right over here, that's your RFID reader. When you get those cards, please spread them out for about 2 seconds, side by side, so they can get a read for the live stream. And we're going to be calling out the action again, just so you know.
Right here, right?
This is
That one.
probably
So it's not the game.
red part. You don't use it.
Well, what do you do?
You just set them there for.
Yeah, you just
just
like
put 'em
spread the
there.
two, like 1 and 2, like
And it
that.
picks it up there.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, guys, you can go ahead and get cards in the air. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone, again.
All right, guys, we are starting back here. 9-handed now. Full RFID functionality up and running. Be able to see the whole cards, bet sizes, all that good stuff.
All right, guys, we are at 30,000, 60,000.
Okay, here.
I'm Mark. The last person that didn't follow King.
Yeah, it didn't work out well for that guy.
He's out of the tournament.
I was like, thank you.
Matt Humphrey now the chip leader. What's up, C. Reynolds? Thanks for the kind words, man. Pesh opening queen 4 offsuit in the hijack. Extremely ambitious, but he's not one to take his foot off the gas. And it's going to work. Don't think Pilosov will defend here, even though he should. He's from the kind of the older school of poker, and don't think he's kind of as keen to the big blind defending as some of the younger guys. If I had to pick someone to win right now, it would have to be Matt. He's playing really solid. And, you know, Pesh, I would have said for sure was the favorite, but he's kind of slipped up a bit. But they're still very deep. Pesh is deep. Pat Mahoney's deep. And those guys are both really good. Ari, of course, is very good as well if he gets a stack going. It's really hard to say at this point. I mean, Matt's running well, playing really well, but when it gets down to three-handed, his tighter play might kind of work against him a little bit. So we'll be seeing what happens. I have not been in the booth with Tuckman during the World Series. He has invited me. Oh, no, excuse me. I've been in the booth, just not with Tuckman. I did some commentary for one of the PLO final tables. And, yeah, Tuckman always extends an invitation, but, you know, during the summer, it's pretty hard to find spare time. If I'm not playing a tournament, I'm either at home relaxing or playing cash games at the Rio or elsewhere. So it's really hard to dedicate a few hours during such a high-intensity work time to, you know, sit and talk poker. But Tuckman is one of the best for sure at this whole commentating thing. He's got it down. A really great guy. Big fan of Dave. Pesh opening another marginal hand. Doobie defending the big. Pesh flops flush draw. I think this will go check, bet, fold. I think Pesh is getting a little too carried away with his opens. I mean, I'm certainly on board with opening wider range when you have kind of momentum and tighter players than your left, but 9-4 suited really is just like not a good hand. And you're going to get in some bad spots post-flop. But, hey, Pesh has much better results than I do, so who am I to say? Pesh turns flush. Kind of surprised he didn't bet the flop. Would have expected it. Not much reason to check. Guess you can rep an ace later in the hand, but I think if you bet, you just fold out damn near everything. So he goes for delayed C-bet, which is now a value bet. And, you know, I don't think Mark's going to do anything crazy here. Check raise would be his only option, and that's just kind of really going out there, Qui win style, and I don't see that in Mark's repertoire. But he sure is tanking with 9 high. It would be sick if he found a check raise here, but he's so shallow. He'd have to commit like half of his stack to do it. And yeah, Pesh could just have ace king or pocket aces or quad kings, pocket jacks. There's a million hands Pesh could have that are super nutted. 9-4 diamonds. So yeah, good fold by Mark. Resisting the temptation to step out of line. PN Cruz. What's that, Pat? Pesh lets one go. Must not have been suited. Yep, Brickster. Pesh definitely has better tournament results overall than I do, I believe. Certainly in the last year or so. And I'm pretty confident he's better at closing. He's going to take probably first more often than I am. The dude knows what's up. And he's not afraid. P. Mahomes, 8-9 offsuit onto the gun. Imagine that's going to be a fold. Got 3 hoodies in a row here, all with very differing play styles. Pesh the loosest by far, Zarkadulis on the tighter side. Pat Mahoney somewhere in between. Plays a really solid, good game of poker. I think Pat and I play pretty similar styles, actually. Billy with just about 14 big blinds. He's not going to be messing around much. He'll either be all in or folding, I think, on this stack. Yep. Looks like Matt has a decision. Seems pretty interested, actually. I'd say he's most likely to call here. Yeah, I think he should call. I think Billy's certainly capable of shoving weaker aces, 10-jack suited type hands, other Broadway hands, small pairs. I think ace-10 is definitely good enough. Yeah, I would call. Oh, well, he has a very good hand, pocket jacks. Matt's going to need an ace. Well, now he's picked up 1 extra out. Needs a king or a 9. Great turn card for Matt. Oh, but quad jacks, that's going to be a winner. Yep, don't blame Matt for calling there at all. I'm sure it's not a super profitable call, but should be good enough. I think Billy's going to shove some ace-8 suited, king-10 suited, definitely king-queen suited, just all the small pairs. Yeah, I would call. Also, Billy isn't a guy that you're too worried about doubling up. He's not one of the more dangerous players. I mean, he's a fine player for sure, but he's not dangerous in the sense that he's gonna, put you in a lot of tough spots or really get crazy when he has chips. I think he's just gonna kind of play tight and hang around. Oh, Brickster, Miami RXC, what's up, man? This venue is more accessible less seating room, but you know, we're right across from the tournament area. I think this is better since it's in the same area as the tournament. Easier for the staff. I don't think there's a huge difference for the players. So yeah, all around, I think it's better to have it in here. D Mokdi says Billy's old school, not shoving ace-8 suited. You might be right about that. I'm definitely quite confident he's shoving all small pairs. I mean, he's got to be shoving king-queen suited, king-jack suited, all those suited Broadway hands. I would certainly expect him to shove. But I haven't played with him a whole lot, and those assumptions could be wrong pretty easily. Even if he's shoving a fairly tight range, ace-10 is like probably at least a break-even call. But yeah, it could be pretty marginal. Quad jacks is definitely in his range. I think he would shove quad jacks for sure, as we saw. Toomey wins, asks about deal making. The Hard Rock does not facilitate deals. That being, they won't reassign the payouts themselves. So if the players want to make a deal, it's on them completely, and it's you know, they need to trust each other to stick to the deal that's made. So typically there will only be a deal made in this spot when you know, everybody kind of knows everybody. So yeah, I don't think it's too likely at this final table. Most of the pros here would want to play it out, and a few of them might even have swaps with each other. I know Pat and Pesh know each other pretty well. Wouldn't surprise me if they have a little swap. Maybe even Ari as well. So yeah, certainly possible for a deal to be made, and you know, all these guys I think are pretty trustworthy from what I would guess, but I just wouldn't expect it to happen. Peter Binklage, you've got a point. They will do it in the smaller events, but they don't do it, as far as I know, in the bigger events. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe that's just the WPT event that they won't do it for. It's possible they'll facilitate deals on non-WPT events, but it hasn't happened to my knowledge, so I can't say for sure. Kind of irrelevant because the guys could do it if they wanted to either way, and these guys, you know, I think they could all be trusted. What's the danger in chopping? I don't know if that's a serious question, but there have been plenty of cases, especially like during the summer at the World Series, where there's a lot of people that don't know each other making deals and you know, running off with the payouts. It's, you know, what can you do if someone wants to screw you over and you don't know them and they're not, you know, a prominent figure in the poker world? It's hard to trust people. Yep. Hope that answers your question. Of course, if the Hard Rock chops the money up for them, pays them out accordingly, there's nothing to worry about. But like I said, the WPT doesn't do that. Whether or not the Hard Rock does it for their events, I'm not really sure. Pat opening the button, ace-jack offsuit. Great hand to have on the button. Do you have to pay taxes from these payouts? You You get a W-2, so it goes on your tax record, and then it's up to you to handle it. So yeah, at the end of the year when you file, you have to account for those winnings, and you know, you get taxed accordingly. So I've been told that Hard Rock will facilitate deals for their non-WPT events. So there's the difference. I still would be shocked if it happens at this table, given the players that I know. Unless it was like if Pesh and Pat and Ari got three-handed, see them making a deal, or Pesh, Pat, Mark. Any combination of Pesh, Pat, Mark, and Ari got three or four-handed, I could see a deal being made because they all play together a lot. They're all regular professionals. Matt could be part of a deal as well, but he doesn't know those other guys, so I wouldn't expect it as much. Also, they would probably want him to give up more than he would be willing. So, yeah. Either way, it's a pretty unlikely outcome, I think, here. Even though a lot of the smaller events result in a chop, a lot of the time the bigger events, these guys, you know, the money isn't as important to them, even though it's a lot of money. And they'd just rather play it out, which I think is, you know, probably the way it's meant to be. But if you're, you know, shorthanded with some friends or guys you know and you're playing for a significant part of what your net worth would be, it can be pretty wise to make a deal if everybody can agree. Regarding the tax question, you can write off gambling losses against your gambling winnings. So as long as you keep all your accounting in order, if you win 500K in a tournament and then lose 500K in the casino, you will not have to pay on that 500K. I still wouldn't recommend that. I'd rather keep the 500 and pay the 30%. But as a theoretical, that is, you can write off your losses, tournament receipts, other things like that. If you file as a professional gambler, you can write off expenses, flights, you know, hotels, etc. That's what I do. Do I think it's tougher to do well in cheap buy-in tournaments due to the bad players, or expensive tournaments with people who are more predictable? Yeah, I mean, you hear people sometimes say they'd rather play with good players. I strongly disagree with that. I would rather play with weaker players any day of the week. Some guys, especially if you play online a lot, I guess they might have more experience with people who play more standard style, so they might be more comfortable with that. But in the long run, you're going to make more money playing with people who make more mistakes. Simple as that. So I want to play with people who are going to make the most frequent number of mistakes possible. So yeah, smaller buy-in tournaments tend to be softer. But with that comes poorer structures. So that increases your variance as well. Higher rake also. So there's a few different contributing factors there. Pat opens up. Hijack. Ari defends big with ace-5 suited. Well, Atheist Poker God, if you're making good plays with good hands and getting called by worse hands, then you're going to be making money in the long run. Unless, of course, you're just constantly bluffing people who don't fold, and that common sense should tell you that's a bad idea. But if you're getting your money in good, you want people to call you with worse hands. That's how you make money. So just keep doing what you're doing, and the results will come eventually. Yeah, it only takes one hand to get knocked out, but you just have to, you know, deal with that. You're going to get knocked out of most tournaments that you play. You know, only 10% of players cash. A really good player is only going to cash like maybe a quarter of their tournaments, something like that. So it's a lot of busting out, and that's just part of the game. So if you're getting it in good, you're going to make money in the long run, and poker's the long run game. Tournaments don't necessarily reflect that. There's a lot of variance, and sometimes you can lose for months, years at a time playing well. But you got to be in it for the long haul, and if you want to be profitable in tournaments, you can't expect it to happen overnight. Matt opens pocket fives. Here's Zarkadulis, 3-bets ace-queen suited. I like the 3-bet, I guess, but although with his image, it's probably not the greatest hand because people would expect him to have a polarized range, and ace-queen is not a part of a polarized 3-betting range, at least when they're playing this deep. But very small 3-bet also. Matt's going to call, I'm sure. They're deep enough. Matt can call this, try to hit a set. That's what he's going to do. And he might even win the pot without improving. Zarkadulis isn't the most aggressive, so Matt might check call on a lot of boards here, and Zarkadulis might give up. Or we can just choose option A and flop the nuts and hope that we get blasted off on. So Zarka's gonna c-bet 325k, I think 350 maybe. I would like to see Matt just call here. I'm guessing that's what he will do. Pretty safe board, and if Zarkadulis has an overpair, Matt's gonna get plenty of action from those hands later on. So if if he has ace king, ace queen, you don't want him to fold. You want to give him a chance to hit one of his pairs and put in a lot of money. So I think Matt's, oh nope, he's gonna check raise it. I don't like this. Don't like that. I would have just called. Let my opponent hang himself. They're not super deep, so this check raise represents a pretty big portion of Zarka's stack. And yeah, I mean, if Zarka has queens, kings, aces, you're going to get his money probably no matter what you do. And if he has ace, king, ace, queen, you're just going to make him fold now. And there's a good chance he could have continued to bet. Yeah, I don't like that play by Matt. Otherwise, I've liked pretty much every play Matt's made. But I would have slow played the fives. sure Zarka might shut down, but he's folding if you check raise. So I'd rather let him, you know, have some percentage chance to continue betting, have, you know, whatever 20% chance of hitting a pair, and certainly putting more money in the pot. Those are both better outcomes than having him fold to a check raise. And sure, there's 2 hearts on the board, but you can't always, you know, worry about a flush coming in that spot. More often than not, Zarka's going to have no more than 1 heart, and chances of making a runner or a flush are pretty low. It's, you know, when you flop a set in a 3-bet pot at a final table, you need to try to do everything you can to get max value. That's part of the reason you call pre-flop. Your price includes your implied odds, which mean making more money on the hand. And if you only get another 300,000, it means your pre-flop call was not all that profitable. Assuming you're not going to win the pot very often unimproved. So you really got to try to do what you can to get as much money in the pot as you can. And on that flop, you're just going to check raise and fold out ace, king, ace, queen so often. And that's going to be a really big disaster when you could have potentially got more money from those hands. It's very common for lesser experienced players to kind of always fear a flush draw when they have a big hand, but it's just not something you can worry about so much. And if it happens, it happens. But you know, if it taking the chance of it coming means you double up potentially, then it's worth that risk.
We raised 340 total.
Pesh opens ace-3 suited, Ari 3-bets jacks. I could certainly see Pesh shoving here. Or excuse me, not, yeah, okay. He's got 1.2 behind, yeah. I could see Pesh shoving this. It's a good hand at 4-bet shove, suited ace. You're going to have like 35 to 40% equity against any hand but aces. And Ari is more than capable of 3-bet bluffing here, so my money's on Pesh shoving actually. And if you know, if it gets through, yeah, all in and call. Wow, big pot. This could be kind of the demise of Pesh here, or the rebuilding of Pesh, depending if he gets lucky. Wow, first card off is an ace, and that's brutal for Ari. Oh, little sweat on the turn. No dice. And Ari gets really unlucky. Really brutal. Ari played excellent poker, and Pesh played that hand fine, I think. Like I said, ace-3 suited, you're going to have pretty good equity when you're called. So yeah, just one of those hands. Ari's been on the other side of that plenty of times himself, so he's not going to be mad. He's just going to take it in stride and play the next tournament. Probably, you know, within the next few days. He'll probably be a Bellagio by tomorrow. I think that would have been a good spot for Matt to open light. 5-6 suited, not the worst hand, and he's in a good position with Pesh and Pat in early position behind him for them not to mess around as much. But it would be a loose open, and folding is certainly fine. Let's see, Pesh opens again. We don't know what with. So Billy's got 8-9 suited here on the button. He's kind of short to do a whole lot. I think that, wow, huh. And someone said before he would not shove ace-8 suited for 14 bigs. This is not the play of a man who would be afraid to shove ace-8 suited. This is a really hot play. Billy's going to get tons of credit. Pesh will not shove on him with ace-3 suited, I can guarantee you that. Pesh might even fold like a good hand here, like ace-10 or ace-jack. Billy's got a great image, and he apparently knows how to use it. I like this play a lot. I mean, it's high risk, but it's just going to work a lot of the time. I think it's got to be profitable. Yeah, and it gets through. Nice hand, Billy. Very nice. See the chip counts there. Matt has a healthy lead with 6.2 mil. Pesh back right behind him, followed by P. Mahomes, Zarkadoulis, and the rest of the pack. I'm sure Billy was going to fold to a shove there. He did have 9 high. But it's a good hand to have Pesh flats. You got plenty of flop playability. And if you do get shoved on, you're probably pretty far behind Pesh's range anyways, so it's like not a big loss. So yeah, that was a sweet play. And I agree, game flow wise too, like Pesh is surely going to open a hand after he stacks Ari, like a lot, as we've seen him open like some pretty shitty hands. So yeah, good spot for a light 3-bet. Just a good play. Someone asks, who's the best player left? That's a pretty hard question to answer. It's always tricky when someone says, like, who's the best player? Because, like, it's, you know, it runs really close. And guys play differently. It's hard to judge. I mean, obviously, if you're talking, like, Fedor or, like, a David Peters or, like, you know, some other guy who crushes, like, the highest stakes tournaments and put them at this final table, I'm going to say they're the best for sure. But as it stands, I mean, Pesh and Pat Mahoney are, I would say, the best players. Pretty close between them. Hard to pick one. Then Mark and Matt, I would say, are the next best by quite a bit, in front of the other 4 guys who are more recreational and less experienced. I haven't really liked some of Mark's plays today, and I've liked pretty much everything Matt's done except for 4 or 3 check raise that set, which can't be too faulted. So I would say like Pat and Pesh tied for playing the best right now anyways, and then Matt, Mark, and the rest. Pat Mahoney probably not as well known as a couple of these other guys, but he's very good, very experienced, been around for a long time. One of my homies, and I've talked poker with him a lot. He knows how to play. You got Pesh opening, Billy defending in the hijack, calling in the hijack rather, And again, we don't see Pesh's cards. I'm not sure why. It looks like they're in the right spot. But he c-bets this flop. Yeah, Billy lets it go. Probably wise. Even though if you call pre-flop there, I think it's only profitable, and it's still pretty thin if you're going to continue on a flop like 10-8, 3-2 clubs. Backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw, very likely best hand at the moment. That said, it's going to be really hard because Pesh is going to continue to barrel on probably 9 or higher with most of his range if he doesn't already have you beat. And your backdoor flush isn't exactly the nuts, and backdoor straight isn't the nuts, so you don't have implied odds. So I would just fold pre-flop. I don't think they're deep enough, especially when Pesh is opening super wide. You don't have that great of implied odds when a guy's opening like queen 4 suited. You're going to flop set, and he's going to just have nothing a lot of the time, and you're not going to get paid. So yeah, I would just fold the 6s. You could probably shove profitably, but I think it's too much, and yeah, I would have just folded. Spotty Vecchia, get a little frisky. The A6 suited. Excuse me. Didn't get much sleep last night. Been playing PLO every night until about 4 to 6 in the morning. Gonna have to go into hibernation after this is over. But Matt has 2 6s on the button. Let's see what he does. A lot of options here. I would, yeah, kind of like calling against this player. I think you're gonna be able to play it pretty well in position. You don't have to make a set. Only downside is Pesh is going to defend his big blind a lot. It's going to make it a lot harder to win unimproved and make it harder to bluff. But I don't hate it. It's not the best call pre-flop, but it's reasonable. Pesh checks. It's a pretty decent flop for Pesh's defending range. He could have a lot of straight draws, 8x, 9x, flush draws. I'd say he has probably the strongest range going to this flop. Matt is expected to have more of Broadway hands than anything else. So yeah, I think Matt will peel here. Good call. As long as Pesh gets out of the way. Otherwise, it's kind of an annoying spot where 6s are not likely to be the best hand almost ever. And Pesh could check raise here, certainly as a bluff, but he lets it go. And now I think Matt's a pretty big favorite to win this pot. I don't think John's the type to barrel, but I don't really know. That's kind of just an assumption I'm making. But in poker, that's kind of what you do. You get limited information, and you make assumptions based on combination of that information and your gut instinct if you've been playing a long time, which Matt has. It's a bad flop for John's range, good flop for Matt's. Matt has 7s, 8s, or 7s, 6s, pocket 5s even potentially. Wow. This is a bold bet by John. I don't like it, really, but it might work here. Let's see if Matt sniffs this out. I mean, John's got a really tight image. He's only shown kings so far. Turn gives Matt some extra outs, and the thing is, a lot of players like John, I wouldn't expect to continue betting over pairs necessarily. A lot of those guys will kind of check the turn because they want to control the pot size, or they're just a little bit afraid of the board. So I don't know. This is a tricky spot. I don't know what I would do in Matt's shoes. It's easy for me to say without with seeing the cards, but well, he makes a good call. Now this is gonna be really unlikely for John to shove the river. Matt could have a few different boat hands. He could have a 9. Everything missed. Matt doesn't get here with many draws. Yeah, I think John's gonna give this up. He'd have to shove. If anything, there's a lot of money in the pot. and I think he's just not going to want to bluff his tournament off. So I predict a check here. Especially because if Matt has a draw, it's the one that ace high beats. Yeah, check, and Matt's going to win. Nice hand, Matt. Surprised he's even thinking, but I guess there's some little consideration to be given. But a very nice hand by Matt. Thanks for the compliments, guys. I wouldn't claim to be better than Antonio at this. He's done a lot more than I have, and he's, I don't know, got more charisma than me. And I don't know. He's good at his job. He's good at the commentary. I mean, he says some stuff that's a little silly sometimes with regards to strategy. But it's not as easy as it may seem to do this. Not to say it's difficult either, but yeah, I think Antonio overall does a pretty good job. But either way, thank you for the compliments. I appreciate that very much. Billy folds. Mark has king queen offsuit. He will be doing something other than folding. Yeah, Nick Schulman, I think, is the most enjoyable commentator I've heard overall. He is a boss of poker, super good player, one of the people I like to play with the least. Just super intimidating table presence. He's got amazing instincts. He's been playing forever. He's just total boss. Tons of respect for Nick, and he's very clever. His commentary, you know, he's good. He's a really smart, clever, intelligent guy, and I enjoy his commentary more than anybody. I tried actually to get Jaffe in here. I just saw him on the last break. He was with Baisley and Zoe Kareem, and I tried my hardest to get him in here, but he was, you know, didn't seem too interested. I'm actually going to shoot him a text and tell him that you guys are asking for him. I would love to have him in here. Jared Jaffe is one of the funniest human beings I know. Also, just a great human being. Really, really nice guy. He talks a lot of shit, but he's got a beautiful heart, and I'm a big fan of the tuna. He plays a pretty unorthodox style of poker, but it works for him. Dude, we got that shove through with king queen. Probably the optimal play to shove there. Don't really want to mess around, and as one of the shorter stacks, your ICM implications aren't that big of a consideration because, you know, there's not many people you're looking to outlast, so you got to be looking to take some chances. I don't know why this is weird. He made it 250 with 920 behind. Essentially a shove. I don't know why he would do this instead of just going all in. If anything, I would like to see a raise to. Oh, okay, it's 150. They have it wrong in the graphic, so that makes more sense. And John shoves. Mark's gonna have to fold. Yeah, Mark made it 150. That makes a lot more sense. Can't see calling here. John's one of the tighter guys at the table, and Queen Jack's not gonna play very well versus his perceived range, which I would say is something like eights or better, ace queen or better, maybe ace jack suited, but that crushes you too. So yeah, Queen Jack's gonna be like 30%-ish against that range. Can't call.
Trying to sneak one past the goalkeeper.
And Mark's not going to be raised folding there very often. Not that John's probably thinking about that a whole lot. He's probably just looking at his hand and shoving if it's good. But you know, there might be some consideration that, oh, this guy opened on like 16, 18 big blinds. He's probably not stealing very often. I'm not going to shove unless I have a good hand. So. Regarding middle stack play at a final table, it is tricky. Depends a lot on your seating position. If you got really aggressive guys behind you, you got to tighten up, and the reverse is true as well. If you got tighter players behind you, it's an opportunity to kind of chip away at them a little bit and try to turn your middle stack into a bigger stack. But overall, you got to play pretty tight because you're looking to, you know, at final tables, you're looking to win, but the main goal is to, or should be, to make as much money as possible. And a lot of the time that requires plays that don't really align with going for the win. But unless you're, you know, your goals are different based on other factors. If you got a ton of money and you're just playing for fun, you want to win. You know, there's some wealthy guys who play tournaments who I'm sure they don't give a shit if they get 3rd or 9th or 700th. They really only want 1st. So for those guys, they should be more aggressive and they should be trying to play for 1st. But for a pro or a guy who's just trying to make some money, you want to be making them decisions that will put you in position to do just that and make the most money. So often you'll have to make some tight folds. You'll have to pass on some decent spots, and in the long run it's going to get you closer to the end, which is going to make you more money. So yeah, when you have a middle stack and there's a couple short stacks, generally I think the best approach is to play pretty tight. Pesh opening here, Billy reshoving, about 25-ish bigs. Yep. Billy has jacks. Pesh has who knows what. I'm guessing like ace something if he thought for a second about it, but I don't expect him to ever call that without a big hand. 9s are better. Excuse me. Matt might be the one with the most live poker experience, but the least tournament experience. Like I said earlier, he plays mostly PLO cash games, and he's quite good at that. And but he's played a good number of tournaments over the years, and that's how I first met him, playing in New Orleans. We played a circuit event together, and back then there were fewer good players, so we kind of clicked, chatted a bit, and we became friends. And we've seen each other around the world since then, and really like Matt a lot. Another open from Pesh. Gonna be a common theme. Now that he busted Ari, I'd have to put him back in the lead for a favorite to win, but that's all just speculation. Doesn't mean a whole lot. Anything can happen at a final table. You all know that. I know that. Another reshove. Wow, DB reshoves King 7 suited. That's a little light. I would have defended there. That's not a hand you want to get called with. I mean, I guess he knows Pesh is opening like super wide, and it's. I bet it's a profitable shove, but I don't know, man. This final table, Mark's got a decent seat. I think I would just defend there. We're going to be going on dinner break here in a moment. which I could not be looking forward to more. Haven't eaten much all day, and even though I'm a pretty small person, I eat a lot of food, and I'm gonna go do that